Hey guys, welcome to another TravelScope Travel Tuesday. Hey everybody, I'm going to send this out to you now. I am here. Our normal co-host is out sick today, Lori Mac Brown. So if you guys tweet her some get well wishes, I'm sure she will feel lots of love. But I told her to go ahead and rest, and I actually sent it via a bunch of emojis. So she said that almost made her vomit. I think that's a good vomit, though. But luckily enough, I am here. Joined our guest host this week is Sherry Ott from Ott's World. At Ott's World on social media, you can follow her there. But Ott's World Travel, and she says it's travel and experiences for the corporate America runaway, which I love that, Sherry. Like it can't be any more clear than that, right?
Yes.
So first of all, the way we like to start the show is just kind of with top chat. If there was something like really breaking in travel news, we would talk about it. But we also like to start. No, but that's not required today.
I probably wouldn't know about it. Sadly.
So first, where are you now in the world?
Oh, I may even be close to you. I'm in Venice Beach in California.
You're on the same. You're in the same country. I'm in Atlanta.
Which is pretty good for me.
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
But wow, I'm way off.
But I actually had not Venice, in Santa Monica. I went to UCLA, so my last year in college, I got to stay in a townhouse in Santa Monica. So I'm very fond of Southern California beaches as a Cali girl myself too. So, and then the other thing that we like to talk about is, or just kind of refresh, where have you recently been, or where are you going to next? You can just pick what is top of mind.
I just recently came from about a month and a half in Mexico.
Okay.
And I was all over Mexico, a month near Oaxaca, a little bit of time in Cancun to see a friend, and then the last 2 weeks, I've been in Baja, so sailing in the Sea of Cortez.
Oh, well, that's fun. And that was that.
It was
so that
great.
Looked like you were inching your way up to eventually be in California.
Yes, I was slowly I came from New York, I went down to Mexico, and then slowly worked my way up. Oh. And I'm here because I had to come to a conference.
Yes. So how long do you plan to stay there?
Ooh, not long. Just this week, and then once the conference is done, I head up to San Francisco.
Okay. So yeah, you're making your way up.
Yeah. Eventually, I'll end up in Alaska in September, actually.
I'll get back to more probing on like how you kind of live your life and pick where you're going next. But let's just establish for the audience, and we actually have people that would be online streaming that may not be in the chat room yet. And like I said, we got a kind of mix up earlier with our connection, so we lost our initial link. Where actually, it may take some time because it says. Some way that I can share to the people, but I haven't figured that out yet. But anyways, so hopefully they'll find us on the replay. But I'm so happy to get you here because I think there are a lot of people who were in your boat, who are actually in your boat where you kind of escaped, and they're in corporate America that kind of don't feel fulfilled anymore, and there is a way to do it. So what did you do in corporate America?
Let's see. I was 14 years. I worked in IT in various really large retail organizations. So a completely different lifestyle. So it was, and the last place I lived was in New York City.
Okay.
So kind of typical New York
hustle
IT professional.
Hustle and bustle every day. And what would you say was your breaking point of to like, okay, something has got to change, and then how did you the plan to leave?
I didn't have any there was not one thing. It wasn't like I broke up with a boyfriend and left or something. It was kind of a real slow burn. It was a 14-year slow burn. Mm-hmm. I think one of the final things though was it was a realization that I was 36 years old, and I had been doing this for a long time. And this career in IT, even though it was very lucrative, I was very good at it. I didn't really choose it. It kind of chose me. I was an accounting major. So not that I wanted to do accounting, but it just was one of those things that you're young and you go on this path. And I started thinking I really don't know if this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. So there was that thought. There was the thought also that I really wanted to do I didn't want to wait until retirement necessarily. I was starting to think that some of the things that I wanted to do were things that I might not be able to do by the time I retired. So, for example, I really had an interest for some reason in climbing Kilimanjaro. And I had a couple of problems there. I had the physical ability to do it when I was 36, not a problem at all. But I didn't have the time off that I needed. And even though I had like 3 weeks, they gave me 3 weeks of vacation, in the position I happened to be in, they didn't want me to take more than a week at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And to go to Africa and climb Kilimanjaro and come back was not going to happen in a week. And so I started feeling, and I had a sister that lived in Singapore and I could never go see her. And I started feeling really kind of trapped and decided, maybe this is a good time to take a break and reevaluate what it is that I really want to do, if this is the direction I want to keep going. And if, really just kind of break away and do some of the things that I really wanted to do and not wait for retirement for, because I wasn't sure that was the answer.
I think those key words that you were saying, trapped, break away, and then one of your taglines, run away, is all I think resonates with a lot of people. And then what do you do? So did you kind of make a strategy, an exit plan? Or was it like,
No.
You know what, let's do it?
Even though, what I did for a living was project management. So I'm an uber type A planner, typically, when it comes to and being organized. So yet strangely, I didn't really have an overall plan. This was one time in my life where I decided my plan was to quit on a certain date, and my plan was to fly to Kenya. And I kind of planned out the first 3 months of my travels, and then I left the rest really open. I planned to be gone for a year. So I had some things planned, but specifics of where I was going to sleep every night and all that kind of stuff, I had no idea. As far as what I was going to do, I didn't really know, especially I didn't have a plan for when I came back. And, I don't know. I just wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I did. It was rather strange. And even now, I don't really have a plan. People talk about setting goals every year and having a 5-year plan and so on. And, I honestly don't know where I'm going to sleep in 2 weeks. My life is now completely short term.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about, first of all, maybe I'll revisit it later, but being a type A kind of planner person, which I totally relate to myself. And I worked in broadcast journalism and then kind of left. So it was my form of corporate America, but yours was the more traditional high rise, going to the humdrum way of life. But always for me, having a plan, I love lists. I love my calendar. I love planning all of that stuff. How is that for a nomadic traveler?
I tell you what. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard. But yet at the same time, now I've been doing this for nearly 10 years. It's been 9.5 years since I left. And it's now just become weird everyday life. It's become the normal.
Yeah.
Not really always knowing where I'm going to be, or on average, I'm moving, I'm in a different bed on average every 3 nights or so.
And how far in advance do you kind of plan your we talked about earlier, you're in Southern California and then you're going to go to Northern California. Is that the extent of where and then you land there and then kind of figure it out, or a combination?
No, what tends to happen, it's a combination. And that's how it used to be a few years back, say maybe 5 years back. It used to be very much more I'd go somewhere and I might not know where I was going to be in the next, I'd maybe know a month out and that was it. Now, though, because I do a lot more work on freelance writing and social media, influencer projects and blogging projects and stuff like that, what happens now is I tend to get these projects and they're my anchor points. And then I've got little things to fill in between. And, I'll find things around that area or whatever, so I don't have to fly all over. So that tends to be what happens now. So right now, at the beginning of the year, I had absolutely no plans. If you would have asked me in January, all I knew is that I was going to Alaska in September. That was it. And Colorado in July. But in those few months of like pitching and getting work, now I know what I'm doing up until, I know really solidly what I'm doing up until June 26th.
And so that for the type A person, you're like, well, there's that, right? You probably feel a little more.
But if you ask me what I'm doing like in September or October or next year, or what my goal is for how I'm going to make money next year, this year, I'd say I have no idea.
Yeah. And for me, that's the same thing. I have friends who want to plan things for September, and I'm like, I don't plan that far in advance unless it's like a conference or something that I know that, and I'll put it on my calendar, but it's still tentative. It can change for something. So within this point in your life and in your career that you've carved out for yourself, do you still have kind of like goals of places that you do want to go, destinations that you're, I would like to go there, or is it still kind of, are you in a place where you're like, I'm moving with the opportunities?
I will say I move with opportunities more now than I used to, because there's probably more opportunities. But honestly, I've been really lucky. I've gone to so many places, like just dream destinations that I've wanted to go to. And so if you say, when you ask, do I have any places left on my list? Yeah, but nothing that's like completely burning. Like it was like for me to get to Antarctica, that was a huge thing. Or for me to get to the Arctic Circle, that was a huge thing. There's a few places like that still, I suppose. But I think now what I'm finding about myself is that the last probably 2 years, my real focus tends to be, because it changes all the time, my interests change a little bit, but my real focus tends to be, if I am going someplace remote or really like cutting edge travel, like no one's heard of it yet, but they will eventually, that's what makes me happy. I get so excited about remote places, wide open spaces, and someplace different. And I think that's just because I have been traveling so long that like I don't need to go to Paris again. I'll go to Paris, I love it, but do I get super excited about it anymore? No. So it's, what excites me is like, introducing a new piece of the world to someone that, they're like, wow, I've never heard of that. Or even, and it doesn't have to be super exotic. I was just in Germany and I did a road trip, and I've been to Germany a number of times before. But my favorite thing about it is I ended up in an area of Germany, a state of Germany that practically no one's even heard of, but it's right in the center and it's super important. It's called Thuringia. And no one goes there. It's kind of like the Midwest of Germany. It's the middle. And it is the coolest place ever. And I had so much fun feeling like I discovered it. So I think for me, it's really like, at least at this stage, in years 8, 9, and 10, or whatever, it's really about truly exploring and discovering, and then being able to share that.
So now you've been able to make it your job to travel. And when you first started, you probably had some finances to kind of financially get revved up at the beginning as well, even if you didn't have like a out point or end point, and it's working out for you. But a lot of, and you probably live this way. But I think a lot of people think, wow, you have to be super rich to be a nomad or to travel as a lifestyle. And can you explain kind of, and it's probably true for you, and I know true for other people that I know that have a travel or fully nomadic as you are, that basically what you would pay to pay rent somewhere, and especially in New York City, you can finance that way on the road without having any assets to tie you down. So kind of break that myth. Do the myth buster, if you will.
Yeah, I am not rich. And in fact, I gave up that life when I was working in New York and had my career. It was a whole different ballgame. And now I make, barely above the poverty line, probably, in America, honestly.
No, I relate. So.
But I think one of the cool things is that what this whole journey has, one of the cool things that the journey has taught me is that I don't need as much as I thought I needed. And so even like what I might have thought I needed for retirement, if you would have asked me that 9 years ago, what do I need to, like, what kind of savings do I need to retire? I would have been working my ass off to get to this ridiculous number that I thought I needed in order to retire and have a good lifestyle. Now that number is probably a quarter of what I thought it should be, because I know that I'm capable of living with less, and I didn't need to, I think once you have that lifestyle, it just kind of, it just builds, you think you need more. But, so yeah, now I do make a living traveling, writing, blogging, social media projects, photography. Like, that's the one thing. You have to be super scrappy, and take whatever comes along. But you're exactly right. I mean, without having a home and a car and, all the things that go along with that, a regular internet, bill and all that kind of stuff, right? Car insurance. I don't have any of that. And so what I need to make in order to survive is much less than what the normal
significantly much.
Yes.
Significantly much less.
And then on top of that, what's happened over the years, what's made it a little bit better is because I do travel writing and blogging and everything's focused on travel, it's most of the time, I would probably say 65 to 75% of the time, my travel is picked up by destinations or companies. I mean, it's comped, honestly. So my flights, my stays. So it's not like I'm spending money to travel. I'm gallivanting all over the world, but that's part of work, and that's covered typically in the projects that I do. And then I have these like little pockets of time, like right now, where I'm not on a project, and I've got like a week. And so the nice thing about being worldly is you have friends all over the world. And so I'm staying at a friend's place here now who had a completely, extra bedroom in Venice. So for the week now I'm staying here, and I obviously have grocery expenses and stuff like that. But really my main, I used to say, it's gotten a little bit more complicated, but I used to say that my main bills were, I have a storage unit in New York that I still pay for, a cell phone bill, and insurance, health insurance. Yeah. I will say it's gotten a little bit more complicated because it seems like there's a lot more blogging expenses now, hosting.
Yeah.
Things like
hosting.
And, every
the email list. And
oh my God. MailChimp. It's like everyone, it's all, I don't know what happened. And if I actually look at what I spent in a month in just like blogging fees, it would be crazy. But in general, it's pretty simple.
It's your business now. It's very entrepreneurial, so it's your business now. I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you thought about this before, but you've been doing it for 10 years. Have you thought of that? Is this what you're going to do forever, or how long you might be doing this before you might not necessarily be burned out, because you can pace yourself? Like, there are definitely times doing this you get burned out and you're like, okay, I'm going to pace myself between press trips. I can't do a back-to-back, that kind of stuff. But just in the long-term kind of thing, have you thought about that?
Real long-term, no. I don't know what's going to happen, because there's a part of me that goes, there's this beautiful thing about life, which is things come your way that you never expect, that you could never plan for. And so I kind of believe in that, I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows who I'm going to meet, or what connection I'll make, or what's going to be my interest. But I do think in 10 years or whatever. But I do think, I am ready to slow down. It's 10 years without a home. That's what I'm kind of trying to make it to, and it's not a problem. I'm going to make that without a problem because I'm busy until September anyway. September marks my 10th year. But I think what I've learned is it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to be nomadic and on your own too. I don't do it with anyone. It's just me. For that long. Someone asked me recently, how do you stay grounded? I'm like, it's really hard. I don't really have a grounding. My closest grounded place is like New York probably, and I get there a few times a year. And, it's really hard to have kind of a community of friends. Yes, you've got online friends and so on, and you can talk on Skype and so on, but it's different. And so I'm getting to the point where I really kind of feel like I need a home base. And then I'll kind of figure it out from there. But I do expect to stay certainly in this travel world. I love it. I know it. It's a fascinating industry. I love the new media industry. So I don't see any of that changing.
Yeah, for all the crazy, it also is very exciting for the creative types too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you travel. You mentioned you travel solo. Do you? There's all the things that come up with a woman traveling solo. Do you ever feel ever insecure about traveling solo, or at least when you first? Because now I think for you, everything's kind of you're gonna meet up with this group here and all that stuff. So it's
You're
not that.
absolutely right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't really think about it too much anymore.
but when you first started, do you ever? I know a lot of people are like, oh, they have those inhibitions, and maybe you can help them to kind of ease those. I know for me personally,
Yeah.
before it became like my career, I would take travel solos when I worked full time, travel solo trips, and I would certainly go to the destination by myself, but I would always book myself on tours and to tour the city, and so I would be with myself, but I would be amongst another group of people. So I never really, I might eat by myself, but like during my days, I would be on these excursions with other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but for you, did you ever feel like uncomfortable because you were traveling by yourself?
I mean, yeah, it was hard to get used to. When I started traveling, so when I took off on that round the world career break, basically, which is what it was supposed to be, I was supposed to be gone for a year and then come back. When I took off, I mean, I wasn't an expert traveler. I was 36, but the first time I had ever went out of the country, I was 30 years old when I got my first passport. So it's not like this was a part of my life. I didn't know what to do. And I was terrified. I mean, I think part of the reason why I did it is it was kind of sitting on that edge of fear and excitement. And that's like my sweet spot in everything that I do. Like if I can find that little edge, that rush that you get, I'm in. So I was really nervous, and I didn't really know much about traveling by myself at all, but I knew a lot about living by myself because I had done that all over in large cities. So like eating alone and stuff like that had never really bothered me. But I did learn pretty quickly that, like you said, it's a matter of you're alone when you want to be alone. You book yourself into tours. You stay in, at that time when I would stay in more hostels because we didn't have Airbnb back then. There was couch surfing, but I wasn't ready to hop into that yet. But hostels were great. And even though I was 36 and I thought, oh my God, I'm too old to be staying in a hostel, I really quickly dismissed that because I met someone like the first day I stayed in a hostel in South Africa. I think I was in Cape Town. And it ended up just being awesome. And we hung out like for the next 3 days in the city. And then I moved on to another place and I met people. And it's just, you really don't have to be alone. I'm trying to think, and then once you start to get going, you start to meet people. You meet someone somewhere in New Zealand, and because you're traveling for a year or whatever, and they say, oh, well, when you get to London, you can stay with me or whatever, you actually take them up on it.
Right.
So there's stuff like that. Like you make friends along the way. So you kind of build this community along the way too. But, there's certainly been times where I've been alone and even in some kind of sketchy situations, but I'm very aware, like, oh, you know what, I shouldn't be here. I need to get out of this as soon as I can. And I just, when I am traveling alone, I take a lot more precautions. I don't drink as much. I don't, I'm not going to go out super late. I don't know. I'm pretty tame when I'm by myself. But if I've got a group of friends that I trust, I'll go out and do whatever. I'll stay out late. I'll party. Whatever. I think it's just kind of knowing that and adjusting a little bit, and then knowing what country you're into. I mean, you really got to take your cues from the country and what other people are doing there.
Okay, so this is the part of the show where we do our rapid fire. So we've been chatting with you the whole time, but this is when you kind of get 10 seconds to kind of answer the question. And they're nothing. They're just, I call them little quirky questions. Okay, so number one, place you never go again and why?
Egypt. I just didn't like it. I thought they were so aggressive and I had lost my patience by that time. So it might have been a timing thing too. I'm also not a big temple and ruin person, so.
Not into temples and ruin. Okay, nope. Most embarrassing moment while traveling.
Embarrassing moment. Goodness. I don't know if I call this embarrassing. Strangest. I can give you strangest. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, embarrassing would probably be something like being out partying too much and puking before I get on a 12-hour flight.
I had someone fall off of an elephant in India, and then her pants were exposed, her underwear were exposed.
No,
So,
I was going to say my weirdest is really, it wasn't embarrassing. It was just crazy. Like I had booked an Airbnb in Istanbul, and it ended up being a dentist office that I stayed in for a week. And it was like a real dentist office. So the living room that I was sitting out working in my pajamas and, laptop, the lobby was the waiting room, because they have the dentist office are people's homes.
Oh my goodness.
It was so weird, but that wasn't in the Airbnb description. So I came up, and as the woman brought me upstairs, and there was a big sign on the door. It said Disakemi or something. And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, oh, it means dentist. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they delivered denture. Like I was the only one there at night. The dentist went home. I actually had my teeth checked. I decided I might as well. Like, what the hell?
Yes, you might as well.
I did. It was awesome.
That is so funny. So that's a great one. And then what has there been a big travel faux pas that you, I guess, exercised? Like, oh no, I wasn't supposed to do this in, Istanbul or something. Like I violated this. Like I went to a Muslim home and didn't eat the food or something like that.
Oh man!
That you found out later, just out of pure ignorance. You didn't know that you were supposed to like kneel at a certain, a faux pas.
Faux pas, boy! You know how hard it is to try to think through 10 years of stuff. Like, holy crap!
If that one's too hard, has there been any nightlife weird moments that come to you?
Once again, I've been really lucky. Nothing that really happened to me that I recall. But I was in the middle of Russia, and we were doing the Mongol rally. So we were driving from London to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and it was a rally. So there were a whole bunch of teams doing it. It took like 5 weeks, and we were out that night. And luckily, I mean, me and my teammates decided to go home because we had work or something to do. And all the rest of the team decided to stay out. And they went out and ended up, then it was a disaster. That was like, this was in Volgograd, Russia. They ended up getting roofied, and like it was, and we saw them like 2 days later, and we're like, hey, how you guys doing? They looked really rough. And that was a nightclub disaster. But luckily it didn't happen to me.
Did it happen to you? Your team was spared. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was so
they had all their stuff stolen. Yeah. So be careful. Don't accept drinks from anyone. That's one of my rules. Ever.
Yes, definitely. Don't accept drinks from anyone. Well, it was a pleasure to chat with you today. Thanks for taking time out of your day to talk with me, especially, I guess it's early in the morning. You're on the West Coast, so it's about 9 a.m. So thanks for doing that. Everybody follow Sherry Ott and her adventures at Ott's World on social media. And the website is Ott's World Travel, right?
It's ottsworld.com.
ottsworld.com. Okay, so you did the perfect social media thing. Everything matches. So I love that.
Yes. And then I'll also give one other plug. The other plug is another website I run that's all about career breaks and escaping corporate America. It's called meetplango.com. We do events and classes and stuff like that. We have one coming up in New York, April 17th, a full day workshop of how you can quit your job and escape or take a sabbatical, whichever, and go do great things and then come back and market those experiences into your job search.
Meetplango. Meetplango.com. All right. Thank you, Sherry. Yep. And thank everybody for tuning in today. And until next week, next Travel Tuesday, our TravelScope ends today. Have a great travel.
Thank you.